I'm very relaxed, as you can tell. I've been stretching.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right, that's the first fucking 15 minutes of the podcast done.
A couple of geniuses over here.
What time is it?
3 o'clock?
We're supposed to start. Is it 1? It's now 3.
3.
Only 2
Podcast
hours
only
late.
goes for an hour.
Fucking hell,
Anyway.
Anyway.
Before we get talking to Isaac, I think you might as well give a quick shout out to the fact that this is the first time in a new studio.
Yeah, so if you're watching and or listening, this is the first, we've got a little studio inside Coogee Diggers, and we've spent the last 3 days putting together 2 curtains and a table. So
Hold up.
and the feature
Some
wall.
hexagons.
Feature walls here.
Some self-sticking hexagons. It looks good, but mate, I'm a fan.
Well, let us know. See if there's any exterior designers that want.
Interior.
Yeah, no, you're right. Interior designers, give us some advice. I don't think I'm sold on the blue yet, but
The lights can change. Anyway, that's enough.
righto. So Isaac, how you going, mate?
I'm good. And you lads?
We're all right. It's a stressful day. Appreciate you sticking around, mate, for an hour and a half when we're running late.
No wish.
What do you do? So I mean, obviously you got the game tomorrow. Who are you playing?
I'm a pool cleaner. Best in Sydney.
Yeah.
So yeah, we play tomorrow lunch. Yeah, about lunchtime. Against not a bad side. Giants.
I'm going to ask you a
Maybe
lot
we
of
should cut
questions that
We'll
are...
cut that bit out.
I'm like,
We definitely
won't. We did a fucking review this morning.
I'm watching match tape.
I was just thinking, that's why I was like trying to prolong my sentence then to fucking.
That's cortisol. It's cortisol in your brain as soon as the camera's going. That's just I don't know what our audience is like as far as knowing AFL. I personally, before I met you, I didn't know anything about it. Didn't know the rules. Don't know the team. I know when I was living in Townsville, my roommate or my housemate in the army was a bloke from Collingwood, and he was a mad Magpie supporter. And so I watched half a game with him ever. And because he was just so into it, and I was like, I can't do it, mate. It's your thing, and he fucking yelled at the TV. Anyway, I knew nothing about AFL. So let's just assume that there's about 20% of our audience that knows AFL. Maybe
Yeah, that's a
30.
good point. I always get in trouble for just going straight in the combo, and people are like, who the fuck are you talking to? So, yeah, mate. So do you want to do a brief intro and then AFL, why, and when did you get into it?
So I got into it when I was about 8, 9 years old. So I grew up in Newcastle, massive rugby league sort of town there, and played every sport growing up. So it was sort of rugby league, soccer, cricket, touch, Oztag, bit of swimming, sort of nippers and all that. And it wasn't until sort of probably the age of 8 or 9 where one of my best mates, his cousin played for Gold Coast at the time. So they're like, oh, why don't you come over and try this new sport? And my old man's loved his rugby league, grew up, was a really good rugby league and rugby union player out in Tamworth, and they reckon he could have gone on but chose not to. And like most people that have a good yarn down the track, they're always pretty good. And Mum was really good at athletics, and she was I think 400 meter runner, and then she was a pretty high level swimmer too. So not bad genetics, and grew up just doing everything I could. And then it wasn't until the age of sort of 12 that I got picked up in the Swans Academy, which is just this academy that go out and find, I guess, people with a little bit of raw talent and a decent work ethic, and try and train them up and show them a pathway to professional sport. And it wasn't until the age of probably 14, 15 when I had a decision to make, and it was either go with AFL or try rugby league, as I arguably loved rugby league more than AFL at that stage. And it was the pathway of the Sydney Swans Academy that sort of tipped me over the edge and go, you know what, like it's there. They've put a bit of trust in me for a few years already, and I'm obviously so young, and I'm not going to stop playing those other sports, but I'm going to put a lot more time into AFL. And from then it started to grow and a bit more, I guess, showed a bit more potential, and making these representative teams, and it sort of flowed. And then year 12, I moved down to Sydney and went to Waverley College and stayed with a host family, and that was obviously a bit of a change up in itself. And then just to be around the club a bit more before I got drafted. And then 3/4 of the way through my year 12 year, I got drafted and been at the Swans ever since. So
Is it the drafts like the NFL, like all televised? Because I moved to Australia and I had no idea. Because I grew up in England until I was 10. Moved to Australia, like, you want to do AFL? I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I watched it, and I was a Geelong supporter before that, and then gave it away. Didn't worry about supporting it because I didn't understand the rules. And it wasn't until
Everyone 6 years didn't know the rules.
People just go there to either drink piss and watch the footy and just it's a game you got to watch live. Obviously, I reckon on TV it doesn't do it justice. And people just like what the fuck's going on? Like the ball's here, someone's getting smacked off the ball over here. They're 100 meters away. Why are they push and shove over there? It's just like it's a lot going on. A lot of rules, but a lot of I guess tactics off the ball too, and it's a 360-degree game, so it is different and it takes a while to learn, and you probably still don't know half the rules. And I've known you for years, and I love it when you and Ryan come to the games and cheer me on, and I meet them after the game and they're stumbling out the ground going, that was epic, and it was like, mate, you didn't watch the game, you just sung piss and probably tried to chat up some chicks on the side.
Allegedly. But no, that's the first game I've ever seen live, and you're 100% right, because I've watched since living with Chappie and following Collingwood for half a game. I learned a couple of rules, and I've watched a few games on TV, and it was entertaining. But not knowing the rules and not knowing how much goes on behind the scenes, I always thought rugby league rugby league were more entertaining on TV. But then you come to a game and originally watching it on TV, it's almost like you don't know the moves, you don't know their running lines, and you don't know that there's actual set plays going on. And it just looks like as soon as you get the ball, you just make shit up and see if you can kick it to someone. And then you go to the game and you're like 100 meters down the field, people are setting themselves up in fixed positions and they're running like, I don't know, what do you call that big rectangle square in front of the post?
As in the
in
goal
front
line.
of the goalpost, the big rectangle.
Yeah, just the goal square.
So it's the square that you kick goals from. I see. So there's dudes like running. It's almost like basketball where they run fixed plays through the key. Like there's dudes running lines and knowing that their whole job is to either distract or just to pretend to be getting the ball. And I'm still making this up as if like I know what the coach is doing.
You're spot on, because it is a bit of a selfless game. Like there's a lot of leading patterns and running patterns that people do just to make someone else get the ball and draw away a specific player from the opposition so they can't get the ball. And there's a lot of tactics to it. It does look messy. It looks really messy, and at times it can be, especially when the games. There's been a bit of rain and it's slippery. It does turn messy. Yeah. And often it's probably harder to watch because the scoring isn't as great and it's really compressed and just numbers everywhere. But when you can see that from a distance and you start to know the game, it does. You
got to go to games. Like if I'm sure most proper AFL fans have been to games before, but if you're just dabbling in it, you got to go to a game. It's so much more entertaining than watching it on TV.
And well, I don't know. Well, yeah, absolutely. I got into this more so because I was like AFL. I wasn't interested, and then obviously met you guys through Ryan. And Sutter. And I was like, he's a football player. I've never met AFL in that closer circle. And I was like, he's probably just putting on being a good bloke. And I'm like, I was looking for fucking cracks. I'm like, he's full of shit. This is just the camera mode. But no, you are genuinely a good guy all the time.
That's good to know.
Well, it's a standard military thing to do, is to size people up straight away and assume everyone's a fuckwit and then go, all right, they've got to earn respect back. And when you do, we've met a fair few footy players, whether it's rugby league, rugby union, and there is, unfortunately, a lot of them really nice to your face. When they know there's a camera on or when they know they're potentially in like a media position, very different people when you get to know them in real life. And obviously there's some great dudes out there as well, but that was noticeable. We're not trying to blow smoke up, You're a good bloke on camera and off, which is refreshing.
Do they do training? Do they do media?
A little bit. Early days, the first couple of years, they'll train you up. It's more just to, I guess, not put yourself in a position that's going to blow you up in the media and put your foot in it, sort of thing. It's more if you get hit with these questions that are or could blow up, could be a bit controversial. You just straight bat it, sort of thing, and that's really the only training you get. And then they can at times just throw in the deep end and say go for it, and hope that you don't fuck up.
Because you could imagine being a young in the army, they were like you'd have media training, which was just defer up. You're just like, sorry, I can't talk about the question, and off you go. But here you've got younger guys. get, with access to a fair bit of cash and fame and publicity. And you're just like, I would imagine early on, dudes would have been standing on their dicks left, right, and center.
It does, yeah, it does happen. It does, but I guess there probably is a bit more training these days than probably even when I first started, which was only 8 years ago. But there's definitely some curly questions out there, and people go looking for it. That's the thing that annoys me.
They
these
try and
days.
stitch up.
Yeah, like negative press gets more than
That's all they do,
press, and it
mate.
does
All
my
the media
fucking
wants
head
is to be. All the media wants is for to be there with the camera rolling when you fuck up, so that they can make a career off it. It's gross.
in. Yeah.
And so, AFL players statistically seem to fuck up far less than NRL and rugby's a bit quiet at the moment. But is that the culture, or is that what do you reckon it is?
No, I reckon it's definitely a cultural thing. Yeah, absolutely, and it comes down from the coach. You're the coach, and you're the captains, and the leadership group, and especially I know at the Swans we've been pretty good. We're seen from the outside as a professional club, but one that doesn't really fuck up, and we haven't had many instances where people have done something pretty serious that jeopardises the reputation of the club, and that does come down from the leadership and the captains and the coach, and they instill that from the get-go, and you come through, and it's more putting pride in the person to, what they're playing for. It's not just themselves, it's for the club, it's for their families, and it's and then also I also believe it's we get pushed to do some sort of education, also some study of some sort, and just to keep the brain ticking over, and whether that's we get a lot of financial help too. People come in externally and make sure boys aren't blowing their money, whether it be gambling or on the piss or whatnot. So it's pretty good with the support around the club. I know the Swans are really good at it, and I'm sure most other AFL clubs are. And yeah, I don't know. It's definitely it's got to be a cultural thing, because I feel like the NRL it happens more regularly.
Oh, they're fucking knuckleheads, mate.
Some
Most of them, mate.
Yeah.
And it's what I think that, because, this is a good segue, I suppose, but like, is there a process where you're a young bloke, you've been fame and stardom, and then you're also a role model to fucking tens of thousands, hundreds of millions of Australians, and they emulate and look up to you, and then you just see, NRL players just fucking it up all the time, consistently. I don't really hear much about it, except for Ben Cousins. And that was
there's been a few. There has been a few, and it's just not as regular. And it's pretty good. I think we're pretty good. I lost my train of thought there. I'm sorry.
So when you said that you get they bring people, that's pretty good to bring people in and give you financial planning advice, because I personally, like, the only way I can relate when people say this, when you speak to sports people and they're like, I've been playing this, they picked me up at the age of 12. That's like all you know. And then you go, they start cutting you big fat checks when you get a bit older, and you're like, all right, now I'm going to simplify this, but all I've got to do is stay fit and good at footy, and I'm going to get heaps of money all the time. The temptation to be a piss wreck and do silly things, especially in the off season, would be huge. Do the boys pay attention to it? Like, is it just the club going tick and flick, we've done our bit and we've brought someone in to give them financial planning, or is it actually worth listening to?
Definitely worth listening to. Yeah. We've got a player development sort of welfare manager as well. So he overlooks everyone. He's 24/7 at the club, and he overlooks especially sort of probably the first to 3 year players, and he'll take them in and check in on them nearly every day. So it's making sure that they're up to date with, like, whether it be their bills, like just your stuff you do as an adult, just your life decisions, and it still happens. Like, it definitely still happens, but I think the training and this day and age, it's definitely becoming less, and we've got great support around us.
Yeah. And there's 100 different questions I want to ask you about where this could come from. But on one hand, I'm like, maybe it's because most of the teams are based in Melbourne. So Melbourne-based AFL players, if they do get in trouble, we're probably not hearing about it as much on the news. But the other thing, do you reckon, this would be touchy for some NRL players, but there's a socio-economic demographic that attracts people to NRL, and it's generally lower economic, like blue collar, kind of the original background. Like when the Pommies came over, Max will tell the story, probably I'll butcher it real quick, but rich kind of royalty lords, whatever, they're playing rugby union. and then the miners and the blue collar blokes playing rugby league. And that's kind of snowballed on into the culture of it is a rougher, gritty kind of NRL's like you're out there to bash people, and rugby was like a bit of a scholar's game. And that's why you see a really big contrast in the way rugby union players talk on camera, the way they act behind the scenes versus rugby league. So AFL, I guess to put a question in it, do you think there is an economic class that that is attracted to AFL, or is it kind of everyone?
I think I think there could be to a point. It's a tough one. I don't know why it hasn't changed for NRL people, because I totally agree with you. It's like I grew up and it wasn't until I came to Sydney that I realised that rugby league were generally the how do I say it without being offensive? But yeah, like the
rough
lower
bogans.
Yeah.
And then we're all rough. Well, I'm a rough bogan. So
my old man came from
away.
Tamworth, and they all were out that way, and they're a bit grubby at times. But and then you got the rugby union boys, are all your private school sort of, I guess, being offensive again, snobs. And then you got, I don't know, the AFL. I feel like it's a mix of both. But I think the one really good thing about the AFL is they've spent a lot of time and money in putting in like grassroots footy and making sure it's exploding from the lower levels, and it's a really sort of family sort of vibe from the get go. So when you join an Auskick, which you might be like 4 or 5 years old, it's a real family, nice sort of vibe, and it's not that sort of from the sideline abusing and.
Do they do that in NRL? Do they have a little a feeder program? I know they've got like the young gun stuff, like 15, 16, 17, but you were 12 when you were saying?
I was 12, and even these days, the Swans Academy, I think they pick them up at 9 these days. So it's weird, like, and it's young. But the good thing what they do, they don't push them in any way. It's like, join this. There's extra sessions if you want to do them. Training sessions. Come to Sydney. We'll expose you to the professional sporting team. We'll give you a Guernsey and a football. That's all it is at that younger age. It's like, and a bit of a label, like you're in the Swans Academy. It's nice to know.
Yeah.
And then when
what's the dropout rate for the Swans? Is there like a dropout percentage?
I don't reckon the dropout would be too high at all, but they do cut them. So they might be like 300 kids at the age of 10 in the Swans Academy, and then by the time you get to 18, there's like 10, 15, 20. Like it drops off reasonably quickly the older you get on, but the dropout rate, I think it wouldn't be that high at all.
Yeah, because we were watching Moneyball the other night. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. No.
Baseball movie with Brad. It's a true story. And then there was a big subplot to that was the fact that Brad Pitt's character, the GM of the Oakland A's, is very against his recruitment scouts for recruiting young kids, because he got recruited super young and then kind of made it to Major League Baseball, but was
mentally
shit.
was undercooked, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was like, when he was young, he was the gun, like good at everything, super athlete. They pick him up. As soon as he starts playing pro ball, he's like, he never becomes special. And it fucks with him a lot. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see, like, getting picked up at 12, and now you say 9.
It's a different scale though. Like when you talk in American sports, it's to a completely different scale. Like your NBA, your NFL, your baseball. It's just not like AFL. Like I said, when I was 12, all I got, like, mum and dad were massive for me. I'm lucky I had a really good supporter base in my family. They drive me down once, twice a week from the age of 12 down to Sydney. So 2.5 hours each way. We'd take half a day of school, half a day of work, and just do it. And but that was never forced upon me from the club or from my parents. And it was like the Swans Academy would give me, like I said, a Guernsey and a football, come down and do some training. You can come in and see the change rooms every now and then and go for a wander through, like, which got me excited. But it was never like, you come down, if you miss your session, you're out.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Whereas I feel like over there, it's like, if you're not doing this at a young age, and you generally burn out by the time you're 18.
So what? There's plenty of things I want to come back to on this, but I've got to ask it now while it's fresh. If you do get picked up, like yourself, I mean, I know you're on a fucking high trajectory. There's got to be players that come in for a couple of years and then, like, they're not really going to make it for like lifetime career. The lead in, so they're picking people up at 12 and they're mentoring you and building you into a great footy player. What do they do when you have to leave? Is there much going on for once you've left?
They're good, and especially like these days, I think even since the time I've been there, it's definitely changed. And they've got a retirement fund, and they drip feed it to you after you, like when you're obviously retired. all this study, like costs of your study is actually taken on by the AFL and AFL Players Association, and that's really good at moving on after footy. They don't just drop you and go, like, look after yourself. You're done now. We'll just drop you in the mud, sort of thing. Like, they look after you, and if you need help in any way, it's like it's true. It sounds like, I'm sure a lot of clubs would say, but like we call ourselves the Bloods. So when you're a part of the Sydney Swans, you're a blood, and if you're a blood, you're a blood for life. So they're not going to just drop you out and just leave you, and they look after you pretty well, even after.
Even so, you're a huge name. What about the guys that aren't as big? They've only been in the there's still someone or some support network there?
There would be, to a certain degree, definitely. I guess it's a good question. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I know obviously the guns they'd look after, and they're part of them. I guess you can call them the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you can't go kicking Buddy out and go, mate, you do your shit, you're not coming back.
No, but I know, especially for the next year or two after football, they're generally pretty good at checking in on you and making sure your life's going all right.
That's huge. I mean, obviously we're looking at it from the military perspective, and this is the exact same issues that we're seeing. It's like you're in the military, they love you, you look, well, they don't, they probably still hate you, but then you get out and you've got to figure life out, because like yourself, you're getting picked up at 12. They've got people helping you pay your bills, which is a basic adult ability, which most dudes in the military, most dudes in professional sport probably haven't had to worry about it ever. And then if you do get sent to the door when you're finished, and you got to start learning life skills all over again, and it's a fucking uphill battle. And that's the reason I ask, is because that's something we're looking at, is how much does the military kind of storyline how similar is it to professional sports? And we did some stuff with the NRL, and I think their culture, they know they need to change, but it was just the Players Association. NRL did not care. Like, Players Association was built to help look after you, but once you're not putting the boots on anymore and you're not making money for the franchise, that is NRL's problem stops there. So yeah, it's good to know that the actual sport, the AFL actually gets behind it a bit too, or the club.
Does the club get behind it? Like the Swans, is there a Swans Association that sort of helps dudes out once they've left?
Well, you've got a welfare manager, and you've got the Players Association. So we've got delegates at the club that obviously sit on the board there, and they're the in between people for obviously from us players to AFL PA, from the AFL Player to the AFL, and and then we've got a couple of welfare managers at the club. They're generally pretty good. I mean, hopefully I'm a little way off finding that out, but
at least 2 decades, mate, the way science is going.
Because if you look at some of the similarities, like, so defense is all about making soldiers and capability, and, you're a good soldier, and then you're out, and then it's DVA's problem. But if the individual battalion associations took up the mantle like the club, so instead of the Sydney Swans, it's the 1RA association.
Yeah, they've got to have money, though. That's the only problem.
Right.
They're just a volunteer-run group of poor people going, yeah, I did that. I did what you're doing 50 years ago. I'll give you some hints. That's about it. Unfortunately, they've got no money. You need a shitload of money, and that's where the NRL was coming from. It's like Players Association's got to find ways to get money together. It's the NRL's like, no, we're about making money, not about spending it on retired players. But you're in a pickle.
Well, especially you look at the head knocks these days in all sport, and
mate.
Like, surely the NRL are going to, like, they're getting sued. AFL players also that have got this CTE going on. That
have they? That's what I wanted to
segue.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know much about it, so I don't know if it's worth asking me much about it. But I know there's people like there's players. I think a Port Adelaide player just came out, ex-player, one of their greats, and he's got pretty heavy depression and anxiety and whatnot. And it'd be worth looking it up. But he's just come out about it, and he's CTE through the roof, sort of thing. So
that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because I know it's rugby league. It's going to be a huge problem over the next 2 decades. And I've got 2 young kids, and I'm like, I don't want them in head contact sports. I grew up playing rugby and then joined the army, and I'm 36 and 90% sure my brain's only half still functioning.
Well, that's why my old man didn't know AFL. My mum and dad had no idea, and they put me in the AFL because they're like, oh, we don't want you playing rugby league. Well,
that was what I was going to tell my kids. Yeah. I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to get you down here, and you can go live with Isaac on the weekends and learn how to be superstar AFL players, because I don't want you anywhere near a rugby league ball. But now AFL players are getting it too, so I might have to get the kids
you're going to get
nitty.
any sport. You look at cricket. bloody
Oh,
what's the young fella? Like
hit there with a 6-stitcher, you're in a pickle.
Yeah, but exactly. But they're still getting it. Like it happens in all sports, and AFL they've made a real conscious decision over the last couple of years to make sure the head is protected. No matter what, and massive suspensions are coming, even from accidental like head clashes. It's like, well, you engaged in the contact. Yes, it was just a head clash. Should be nothing from it. It's not like you had a swing arm, hit them high, but you engaged in the contact and hit them technically high with your head. And people have been getting fines and suspensions and stuff from that sort of stuff.
So that's where I think AFL is going to start. Well, I mean, it's already a huge sport, obviously. I have this opinion because I didn't grow up watching it, but I think when all of the sports are going to start being conscious of CTE and head knocks, and AFL is the one sport that's going to have the least impact to it, because you can reduce head knocks in AFL and still have a super exciting game. You take heavy contact out of rugby league, and I'm like, I would rather watch golf.
Touch.
And I absolutely hate watching golf.
Well, it turns to touch, doesn't it? Yeah. It's like...
Yeah, it's just not entertaining. And I mean, there's a moral line that we've got to draw. We got to look after people. We all have to care about everyone in 2022. In reality, you're getting paid a lot of money to be a gladiator. But I don't think we're going to have multi-million-dollar NRL players in the future because no one's going to watch it if there's no contact.
Greatest comparisons like the Origin 3, right? Compared to like the NRL season. It's like that game was probably viewed like
it was worth watching.
Yeah, it was worth absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I love watching rugby league, so I'm a big fan. But that Origin 3 was just next level.
Brilliant.
It's like that's like the 80s coming back out again, sort of thing. And it's an interesting one.
I wonder if they'll just have to sign a thing saying, "Hey, look, we'll pay you more, but at the end of the day, you're going to get it's head knocks, just indemnity, or we'll pay you more, but it's going to happen." And I think you'll see. Like, let's say it comes in, let's say, you fast forward 20, 30 years and all the old guard start bringing in rules of reduced CTE and head knocks and the sport. I suppose the spectators would look back and start looking and be like, oh, the game's gotten soft. But if you ever gone out there and started bashing your head into other people as a battering ram, like, and then you forget where you're going down the street because you don't know spatial reasoning or whatever, some of the effects of the CTE stuff, it's not like, you sprain your ankle and you come back good or whatever. It's like debilitating stuff. Like,
yeah, it's serious. It's really serious.
It is. Yeah, I've got to play. I mean, absolutely it is, and I'm super worried about it in myself. But we're slightly evolved monkeys, and the guys like NFL, for example, NFL's the sport that's going to have the most problems because they literally put on a bit of plastic that thick and go, that'll save me, and they run headfirst into giants. And so if NFL goes away because it gets too soft, those people, those slightly evolved monkeys are going to be out running their heads into something else. Like there is a masculine need to run headfirst into people aggressively, and like they've made a sport out of it, and there's heaps of money in it. So I don't know.
It's also like we love what we do, and it's like, and I'm sure you ask any NRL player, they're like, you don't look that far into the future, but you're like, I fucking love what I do, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And it's the same thing. Like if we get a head knock and the doc rules you out, you miss. I think it's 10 days of, it's 10 or 12. I think it's 12 days. 12 days of, I guess doing not much at all, and you can't train, you can't play for 12 days, and you can sometimes miss 2 games. So it's like if that happens in finals, you don't want to miss out on a final. You could be a crucial player. The club doesn't want you to miss out on finals. Can you sign a
thing saying, I'll just run it?
Yeah, be like, if anything happens, I'm good to play if I decide to. And they're like, obviously you throw it up. Are you in the right state to be making that decision after a head knock anyway? Are you good to go? Or I don't know, but why couldn't that be for the rest of the season as well? And it's up to that individual person. But
it's going to happen. I think it has to, because it will get too soft. If they regulate it to the point where all sports you got to wrap everyone in cotton wool because we can't have people getting hurt, no one cares. No one's going to watch them anymore. To go back to amateur. The other thing is, like, I don't know, I'm just making this up as I go, but we came from a place 200-300 years ago where you break your leg, you're probably cooked. You might be dead. All right, now you break your leg playing footy, you'll be back in 6 weeks. Right? Is hopefully we get to the point where brains get researched a lot more, and it's like, right, you got knocked out, you're just going to take this supplement, and then 10 days later your brain will be back to normal.
Yeah,
it's like, cool, go and run it head first into that brick wall over there again, and you're good to go.
That's what I'm hoping, because I'm like, I got metal everywhere, and I'm like, by the time I finish footy,
you just went like this.
Yeah, and I got 4 plates, 6 screws in my jaw. I got plates in my hand, thumb. Like, only and I dislocated my ankle a couple of years ago and tore the deltoid peroneal tendons and bone and cartilage they had to remove and had a stem cell injection in that. So like by the time I finish footy, I'll be a fucking
You'll be busted.
Yeah.
I'll be a busted arsehole. So
I wonder if they do that with so like the old gladiators, and if you're good enough, you got your sword of freedom, and you go, you get a bit of land and off you pop, you're free. Do it with, I mean, that's ridiculous amount of fucking plates in you.
I'm just hoping that there's something out there.
Science
like
is moving quick, mate. Science is moving quick, and I think that's
Give them
the
a pension
trade-off.
and give them heaps of beers.
You're good at it. You're gonna get hurt more.
That's the problem. Boys, people go to beers, and then it's a downhill spiral from there.
Yeah.
And it's
Most athletes are like, I used to be able to eat garbage and drink in the off season or whatever because I trained so hard. And then the one thing that happens when they retire is like everything, their lifestyle stays the same. But they don't need to train anymore, and they get fat real quick. Especially Olympic runners, mate. They're terrible for it. But no, I think I'm hoping we're heading in the right direction with science. That we're about 15 minutes away from Elon Musk just going, all right, that brain's no good anymore. Just use this one instead, and we're sorted.
So what is your day-to-day sort of, not giving out any corporate secrets, but a day in the life of Isaac, like a training session for people who don't know, and what's a day in a week like?
Yeah, so it's a full-time job these days. It's we'll just go on Monday to Friday. We'll go in season. So Monday, assuming we played, say, the Saturday before, we'll come in and we'll do a big review in the morning, and a lot of it will be based around recovery. So we'll come in and we'll do about an hour review. Sorry, no, we won't. We'll come in and we'll do more of the recovery based stuff. So we'll go in and you're doing like an off legs, which is like a bike, a box, a swim, getting the body moving again. Then we'll go and do stretch. A lot of the weights earlier in the week is more about mobility and recovery. So we'll go and we'll do a half an hour to an hour session of sort of mobility and lighter weights, and then we'll come through and we'll do. Your boys have got your massages, you got your meetings, whether it be like your whole team meeting, and then you split up into your lines. So whether it's forwards, mids, defenders, and then go over that, and you're doing footage, you're doing walkthroughs, you're having chats, and at times it can be, depending on the game, if you obviously have a bad loss, it can be, I reckon the sign of a good club is it can be pretty upfront and direct, but no one takes it personally. And it's like, for me, I feel like it's changing these days that you got to be so conscious about fucking people's feelings, and which I'm sure you do, but at times it's like, I think while the Swans have been such a consistent performer over the last 20 years, it's like, if someone does something like fucks up in any way, one of the leaders, captains, anyone at the club will just go fucking whack. It's like, you do that, you don't complain, you get it done, you change it, and then if you need to address it after, you address it. And the person that generally whacks someone for doing something wrong or not having a crack will follow it up, and that's what we encourage. And a lot of that's done earlier in the week, and obviously backed up. You can't escape from anything. There's about 20 cameras out there looking at you so if you're walking it when you're not meant to be, it gets put up pretty quick. And then throughout the week, then Tuesday we have we call it a T1, which is one of our main sessions. Getting the body going. It's not high intensity, but we're only covering probably 6 kilometers. And then Wednesday is generally your day off. You come in and boys will go to these recovery places. So Body WRL is a big one. Coogee Recovery just on the road here. Do ice baths and Normatex, Novathors, saunas and whatnot, and cryotherapy. And then Thursday is our biggest session, 2 days out from a game. And we'll do, probably 6 to 7K, but higher intensity. Friday, captain's run, massage, meetings. And then Saturday, we'll go out there and play. And leading up to a game, you lay pretty low. You get your activation going early in the morning and make sure the body's good. And then if it's a late game, we'll have a nap just before the game. And then we come into the game and boys will average between generally about 14 to 16K. And some boys that are big runners will go 17, maybe 18K. And they're big running games, those ones. But people would sit between 14 and 16K, I reckon.
And how are you tracking that? You wearing...
Yes, we've got GPS.
Is that what the square is?
Yeah, it's in the back of your Guernsey. So it's like this. It's just a little GPS and just sits in there. And it's a weird one because it feels like it'd be uncomfortable. It's got a bit of padding around it, but not much. And you never hit it. You never really know what's in there. And
is that the only kind of wearable data collection you've got is GPS?
Yep.
They don't track biometrics as you're playing?
No.
It's probably... What about in training? No? Got to get on that, Swannies. There's data out there. Google wants all of it.
Well, it's a hard one. I'm not the one to talk about it. Obviously, you complicate things and
So, yeah, I mean, you would. You overcomplicate. It's whatever's happening in AFL at the moment. It's obviously working, so you do more.
Science,
yeah, exactly. So things like napping, like what you just went through, is that all mandatory, or is there parts of that it's like you're supposed to be a professional athlete? There's discipline required here. We've got to do it ourselves.
Well, a lot of boys will do X. So we do have a bit of time in between, whether it be meetings, weights, training, and we'll go and. I mean, it's all pretty structured for you. The recovery outside of the club is up to yourself, and some boys will go and you kind of know the boys that have gone and just sat in the lounge and played PlayStation, eat fucking lollies all day, and you know those sort of people. You know the boys that are getting up every week and feeling fresh, looking good, and whatnot. So, I guess the only thing that's left up to you is really your diet and your sleep, and they're two of the biggest things for recovery and preparation, and that's what we try and drill that in, and that's one of the biggest things I've focused on this year is actually my sleep. I'm like, if I can get 9-10 hours of sleep a night, I know it's a struggle most of the time for me, but I feel so much better. I'm pulling up a lot better. My brain's sharper. Everything's just feeling so much better. And I never used to think sleep was that important.
Oh, the most. Outside of breathing, I mean, there's a bunch of different metrics to ultimate holistic health. But in the 4 that we promote the most, in like mindfulness, sleep, fitness, and nutrition, mindfulness, talking about like breath work here, we always break it down in what you need the most to stay alive. And so breathing's obviously first. You only realistically need to do 5 to 10 minutes of breath work a day to clear your head.
Are you on the nasal breathing?
But sometimes, like in the morning, I mean, I'll be honest, lately I just sit there and just breathe however I want, and it's more mental to trying to get myself motivated back into life. I spent the last 6 months kind of burnt out after some shit that we had a bit of a run-in with a few generals last year, and it kind of got us pretty grumpy, and we're like, spent 6 months going, what the fuck's the point if these idiots at the top are just going to say no to looking after their soldiers? Anyway, I'll get off the soapbox. But no, at the moment, I just do 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, like just mental prep and a few little mantras. I talk to myself for a bit and get pumped up to go out there and kill it at life. And obviously it's working.
Absolutely.
But no, the biggest, sleep's huge. And that's one thing. Like we've got a new bit of software coming out in a couple of weeks to help people set goals and figure out what they need to focus on the most. And we know from just research from asking people that sleep's always the last. Like if people are like, oh, I've got to sort my life out, you're like, oh, I'll go to the gym, and that's the first thing they do, which is good. I mean, it's something, and it gets you into a routine. But if you want, and there's other people out there that are like, oh, I'm a high performer, I only need 4 hours sleep a night. It's like, no, that is absolutely incorrect. You'll get away with that when you're young, but as soon as you get over 30 and your body's like, all right, pay attention, I'm telling you some stuff here. You need 8 hours locked in, minimum 8 hours.
Yeah, that's what we did. We with this new feature upgrade we're releasing, we wanted to give people enough. So it's formulated for the perfect human, but you got to give people enough freedom in their day where it's their own choice, right? You don't feel like you're locked in, but we just blanked out. We're like, nah, you're going 8.5 minimum. You are in a bed every night. They're not professional athletes, but I think number one, if you want to do any emotional regulate, unfortunately, it's a double-edged sword. Like sleep is the number one thing prescribed for emotional regulation and recovery. Yet the first thing that happens when people are under mental duress is they can't sleep. You know what I mean? Like if you, I don't know, like what's it like for you before a game? Oh, you're right.
Yeah, I've learned to be better with it. I used to get really, really sort of uptight and anxious about it all and get the butterflies going from a couple of days beforehand sort of thing. But I'm pretty good. I feel like I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing things as well. So when I come out, and I'm lucky to I've had you and Ryan for the last few years at home that obviously used to live above me, but I'd come home and I can fully switch off from footy, and like we'd go and fucking grab the dogs and go down to the rocks and probably do some stuff we probably shouldn't have done as an athlete, like especially the day before a game, jump off the rocks and swim around and get washed back up the rocks and have fun and just muck around and jump off cliffs and shit like that. Like, but I love it. We loved it, and it's a good little escape. And I guess it goes on to my release for me is saltwater. It's like saltwater therapy. I fucking love it. Yesterday I got out for a surf, so I'm a bit nasally at the moment because I've been out, got thrown over the falls a few times, and got my sinuses are full of salt water. So, I'll tell you a story. Oh, I told you. We won't go into that. No, we won't go into the story. Bit of fun last night. Yeah. So for me, it's a bit of that too. And what's my train of thought now? But
the recovery and sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So going into sometimes my mind can just go over. I probably struggle more after a game than before a game sleeping. If I do something that I'm like, fuck, I should have done better there. Could have done this. I miss a few goals. I'm like, fuck, how good would a game be if I kick 4, but I kick 1 goal 3? And it's just like, it's a complete swing in games. I'm like, I've got to go and do this. And then I can't switch off my mind. It just keeps going. I know a lot of the boys are like that. Then you worry about the meeting. Go in, you're like, fuck, they got footage up. I'm not going to escape anything here. I know I fucked that up. It's going to come up. And I might put my hand up for it and be like, I own that. It won't happen again, sort of thing. But you just overthink things. So before a game, pretty good. Because I think, and that's another thing of the club, they're really good at. So we have like a lady came in the other day and explained it. In business, you have your reviews every few months or something like that, a whole review of the club. We have it every week. So it's like you got to move on pretty quickly. Every Monday we'll have a massive review of how we went. Pretty brutal, pretty honest. And then you get going and then you move on. Once that Monday's done, that afternoon we'll go out and we'll have a kick around, and that's the move on to the next week. That week's done, we get going. Whether it was negative or positive, fuck it, we're on to the next week. And it's great. It's really good. Hence why going into a game I feel pretty good, feel pretty relaxed, and then after I just got to do my thing, and that might be a bit of meditation, bit of breathing. I'm not great at it, but I'm trying.
Did Rory Warnock come into your club? Yeah, because he did some. He's a legend. He gave us some programming for free for the app, bit of breathwork stuff. I think we put most of it up. There's still some content we've got in the backlog that we still got to get on
backlog.
But he was a really good dude, and he reached out and he's like, mate, can you I want to get in touch with the Swans. And I was like, I don't even know if I could sing. Oh no, I did. And then I think I saw him put up a post. I'm like, that's sick to see professional sports teams getting breathwork coaches in, because that's the easy. I mean, it's the number one thing you need to do. Like you said, like we were saying before, breathing, and then sleeping. 2 biggest things for high performance. But trying to get a giant organisation to pay someone to come in and teach you how to breathe, it's like it's pushing shit uphill. I know we're in that stage of like a cultural transition where it's starting to become okay, but it was sick to see the Swans take it on.
It's good, and he actually messaged yesterday, and we early on. So I threw it to. So I went to you, and then I went to Horse, our coach, and was just like, "Have you thought about this?" And he'd actually spoke with him and Robbo from the Roosters. The coach of the Roosters are really good friends, and they do a little bit of the Roosters, and we've never really done any at the Swans. And I was like, "Can I give you this bloke's number?" Came in, Horse and I had a chat with Rory, and he came in and did a couple of sessions for us, and the boys loved it. And it was obviously it was a slow process, being that it's just like it's going to be the cultural change is happening, but some of the boys are like, what the fuck are we getting some bloke in to come and tell me to breathe? And some of the boys will still like it. We probably had, out of the 45 blokes, we probably had 20 blokes that didn't do a session because they're like, I don't need to breathe. Like I do all the time.
They're probably not listening to this, but they definitely do. Like it's the number one thing to change your mood. Like I'm trying to teach it to my kids, because kids have tantrums, and all the time. Or maybe I'm just a shit parent. But as soon as I get them to I notice it now. As soon as they're getting worked up, their breathing rate picks up. Everything tightens up, and as soon as I just tell them, hey, just take a deep breath for me, and then you can tell me all the shit that you're about to stomp the floor and throw shit around. As soon as they take 2 deep breaths, they're calm again, and then their brain changes. Like that is the number. And everyone's like, adults are like, no, you don't need to teach me how to breathe. It's like, I don't need to teach you how to go in and out, but if I can teach you some things.
Yeah, it is the only conscious way to stimulate your vagus nerve and your physiology, and change your physiology and your stress response. The only conscious way to do that is through breath work. There's no other way you can do it. Like slow your heart rate down. You're like, think about it. You definitely can't do it. You got to breathe, right? Yeah. Same with everything. So, but I think that's where it's going to flow on from. Like you start getting like the Sydney Swans starting to do this, breath work stuff and mindfulness, and it'll flow on because of the role model, status that you guys have within the community. I think it's going to be amazing.
And that's what we need. Like, it's exactly what you need. If we're trying to change the mentality, I mean, our goal, obviously, we work with veterans. Goal long term, is the next goal. All blue collar males, including footy players and coal miners, and trying to get a tradie to sit down for 5 minutes a day and do some meditation. Like, good luck. You put a gunfighter in front of him or a professional footy player that says, "Hey, we do this every day." And you take the woo-woo out and you take the fluff off it, and it's no longer a dude with dreadlocks or a chick in Birkenstocks teaching them how to do meditation. Instantly, like, you go, all right, makes sense. I think it's the only way to do it. Footy players is a good step forward.
I've got Birkenstocks.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah,
I know
mate,
I was a heavy I was no shoes, actually. You and Ryan are just no shoes, and you're like, got to earth yourself. I'm like, fuck, all right, sweet as.
Don't laugh, mate.
No,
you laughed about breathwork 2 years ago.
I'm all for it.
Next minute, we're going to get the Swans playing in no shoes. So we're just earthing. We're just earthing, Sensei. But no, mate, as soon as I said that, I was like, oh, no. Because it take... Normally with fashion, right, I'm going to go straight off track and down a rabbit hole.
No, I love it.
It took me 4 years of seeing grown men wearing skinny jeans before I was like, okay, I can wear skinny jeans now. And it wasn't because it was like I thought they looked shit. And then, I don't know, something just over time just slowly got whatever it is, like the message got in my brain. It's like, they look pretty good. They're all right. I'll wear them. And now I wear them. And then 2 months later, they're out of fashion again. And I'm fucked. But the same thing happened with Birkenstocks. I used to watch men wear Birkenstocks and I was disgusted. So I was like, and it was. But when it first came out, it was I told you this was a rabbit hole. So now I'm going to put a pin in them and go down another one.
Keep going, go.
So it all every fashion culture starts from some low socio-economic group, normally. So gangbangers wearing their pants baggy down around their waist is because that came from the dudes in jail. You don't get belts, right? So if you get the wrong size pants and they were too low, like they'd fall down your ass, and then all the tough gangbangers who'd never been to jail or they'd done 5 minutes in there come out and they're wearing their pants around their ankles because they're like, oh, that proves I'm.
I thought it was so that they said they were available. I thought there was like this weird misconception. They put their pants down if you took it.
I'm making this up.
Yeah,
Don't prove me wrong. That's why we're not looking anything up on the TV. It's all about, no, there was a part of it. I believe that to be true, that was the thing. And then post 9/11, all the shooters overseas wearing baseball caps, having long beards and longer hair, looking a bit scruffy. That was originally designed for males to blend in Muslim culture because they've all got beards, and they didn't want to have like military short-cut hair and shaved heads. And then we get this explosion of hipster culture where everyone's wearing long hair and beards, and it's like, no, you're not allowed to be doing that. Sorry, that little top knot that just ruins all. Because the top knot originally is from like samurai or ninjas or whatever. Looks sick if you can know how to slice people up with a sword. If you bake cakes and make really good coffee, then no, you shouldn't be wearing a lumberjack shirt and have a long beard and a ponytail. Anyway. That is what fed into Birkenstocks for me. I'm like, there was dudes, they started with the top knot and then they grew long beards. And I'm a fairly masculine dude and I can't grow a good beard. And I was really, 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 it hurt my ego.
Hold on.
I'm just bringing it back on track.
You're talking about beards. 26 years of growth right here. Look at it.
Hasn't shaved a day.
I got two little bum fluffy and a little bit this size as a mole, and that's about it.
Mate,
maybe just evolved.
When I go to the snow, like this is a whole nother rabbit hole, real quick one. You know when you get a caged pig, domestic pig, pink, no hair, you let it go, and within like 6 months it'll grow tusks and furry and become a wild boar. Right, the same animal as soon as you let it go. Humans have they've got a tiny bit of that in them. So when you go from domesticated, we're domesticated pigs. Put us out in the wild, and you start, and especially in cold climates, you will start to get a little bit more body hair. So I've got no chest hair, and I go to the snow and I get like 1 or 2.
No,
yeah, absolutely.
Really,
in winter I get more chest, like 1 or 2 more. Because there's none, and then I get a couple. I'm like, ooh, I've hit puberty.
No, I have to start shaving from here, and then just and then the neck's about here. Yeah, I've got to measure it. Like eyes are here, neck's here, go, and then all the way down.
Right.
In a really, really bad attempt to bring this back onto some kind of track, that was what killed it for me. I was like, what did I say before? Something about made fun of Birkenstocks. So when hipsters started wearing flanos and having they'd never done a day in their life in the woods, chopping down wood. They don't know what an axe is, but they'll wear a lumberjack jumper. Grew a beard and wore Birkenstocks. And I was like, I don't know if you're allowed to do that because Birkenstocks are super hippie and you're trying to be masculine as fuck from the waist up and you're really feminine from the waist down. And 4 years later, I'm like, they look sick. I got to get some. But then in the back of my, I went out the other day and I went to Birkenstock shopping, couldn't find any that fit me. But I'm like, and then I started worrying, like, if I buy these, someone else is going to bring out a new pair of bloody Havianas tomorrow. And I'm going to be too late and I missed the boat and I spent $160 on sandals that I never wear again. So, yes, I agree. I made a joke about Birkenstock wearing, but
I don't wear them anymore.
Why not?
No, I got off them because of that whole thing. I was like, nah.
Talk yourself out of it.
Well, I was like, they're $160 sandals.
Oh, yeah. They last a while. If you look, you don't even have to look after them. I wear them in the surf and then. But my Havianas, I'll pop a Haviana in bloody 2 weeks.
That's what's annoying, right?
Yeah.
I was like, hang on, we can put man on the moon. We can nuclear bombs, everything you can think about, and we can't make a plugger that doesn't blow up within a week.
Was it the double plugger? The black
Black and white
shitty one, but they lasted. I felt
They're double plugs.
But back in the day, anything made back in the day is so much better than this shit that's made today. I swear.
That's the problem they've got. Like a lot of my mate, well, not a lot. The guys, a couple of guys that I went to school with, good blokes, but it's like it's a badge of honor to say I was born in the 80s that they don't stop wearing black and white double pluggers. And I'm like, or those big. I'm about to throw up.
The reef.
Those big fisherman thongs. It's like about that thick with black with blue lines through it. You know them. And the dudes who wear them have always got dirt in their toenails. Every time, mate. It's like if you see a pair coming like this dude's gonna have disgusting feet.
Cruel feet.
It's trucky thongs.
Yeah.
Like they're amazing, but they need to get those old fashioned $5 from Kmart double pluggers and just get a couple of different colours on them. Different palette, and I'll be like, I'm back, I'm in. Havianas, they don't last long enough. They just look cool.
Yeah,
we were talking about high performance 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. You go into the next jeans and pluggers. Jeans and thongs.
Yeah.
That was stylish. I love it.
You and Ryan love it. And I'm like, you can't be wearing that these days. I don't want to be associated with you guys.
Mate, the funniest, the best thing is like, we got an age difference, right? Oh, my computer's going off. How old are you now?
26.
Right, so I'm 36. If we were wearing like suits to a function, you wouldn't notice there's a big age difference. So I'm very immature, and he's a very mature person.
Far from it.
Sometimes. But then it's like fashion, and computer games and apps on phones is starting to become a thing for me because I'm an anti-TikToker. But fashion's noticeable, and I'm like, jeans and pluggers for me. That's you going out for a beer on a Sunday, you going to the pub, whatever. It's like that's cool. You're wearing that. He's like, you can't do that.
It's like Sneens. It's like the 80s, 70s Sneens.
It's coming back around, mate.
Sneakers and jeans?
Yeah,
no. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you can't wear sneakers.
Is that good or bad?
Nah, shocking. Horrific. They're the big New Balance sort of big.
New Balance,
the old, you're a dad when you're wearing these big fat white New Balances and jeans.
I can't wear New Balance, but I've worn like black Reebok nanos, like CrossFit shoes under jeans. Well, I became a little bit more comfortable with it. I couldn't do it when I was in the army. Because some of the boys come from the country and you meet people from all over the place, and sneezing was for some reason acceptable to some 24-year-olds. I'm like, dude, I didn't know you were that was you. We can't go out in the piss together. And then we're down at the snow a couple of years ago when we were climbing Kosciuszko in the shoulder season, and all I had was either.
What's the shoulder season? What does that mean?
When the snow's melted, the ski lifts are about to shut. No one's skiing anymore. Oh, the shoulders is actually just before. It's like peak season for 2 months in Australia, and then the shoulders like the month east side of it. And I had nothing down there. I didn't expect that we're going out for beers or anywhere fancy. It's not real fancy. We went to the pub, and all I had was black Reebok nanos and jeans. And I looked in the mirror. I'm like, yeah, I could probably get into this. I think I've turned a leaf in life, mate. I'm a bit old. I could probably do it. And then Isaac gets a bunch of shoes from sponsors and stuff.
Nike, yeah.
And then those white ones. So because we go like when we were living, especially across from each other, buying presents or buying shit, and we're like, oh, I'm getting one. I'll better get Reed one. I'll get Isaac one or whatever. And he brings home shoes, and I'm like, how do I let him know that these aren't cool? And then he's like, no, these are actually cool. And then I go in, everyone's wearing them. I'm like, nah, 4 years, mate. I put them in my cupboard. 4 years, I'll get them out just before they go out of fashion.
No, but they try and fashion is. I don't know that it's all over the joint, isn't it? It's like people trying to do too much these days. It's like keep it simple.
Everyone needs their own identity, and a lot of kids have never had any adversity, so it's like fashion's my thing. I've got to figure out in fashion. But
Who's the trendiest guy in the AFL? Apart from you, obviously.
Mate, you should have seen my kids back in the day. I was like boardies and a Billabong singlet. Like,
do they do sheriff sessions still, like shit kit, and
kangaroo courts?
We've got kangaroo courts.
Well, do you ever, when you, I don't know if you do it regularly week to week, but do you ever get around with the boys having a beer and be like, there's someone in charge and you just pick on whoever's done the stupidest shit and they've got to pay fines and stuff
We've got to find, we have fine session. We used to do it all the time. And it stays between the boys. This is some shit that comes out. You're like, it probably shouldn't come out. But we don't do it as often. No, we used to do it we probably do it every month.
Yeah.
And there'd be heaps of fines. And then if there wasn't, we'd just make up some stupid shit like shit kids.
You try and stitch people up. Yeah.
We haven't done it in ages though. And I guess as part of that, you don't want to upset people or people are too sensitive to things
these days.
Yeah.
So if rugby, I mean, we did a lot. If you go with rep teams, you have to do it. Like that's because you don't catch up enough. And then club footy, it'd be like once every couple of games. There'd be some kind of sheriff session, but you can't. I mean, that is an essential part of masculine bonding. Is making fun of everyone else around you.
Yeah,
but you can't say that out loud anymore because people get offended.
Yeah.
Well, you're allowed to because you're a CEO of a mental health charity. So people in 5 years' time are like, where do we go wrong? They'll be quoting you on the news.
Well,
you can make fun of people.
I hope so. The way it's going, definitely not, but I hope so.
Well, I mean, we went to there's a mind medicine event last night, which is a psychedelic charity that's trying to legalize psychedelics, and there is still there. I mean, there's some people that cross the line and they're far too woo, and there's people who are super conservative, and it's like we got there and we're just gonna be honest, like and talk, and that's the benefit. I guess it's a benefit when you get introduced as a veteran. People are like, oh, you're allowed to kind of say be a bit rougher around the edges, but people need honesty, and honesty for dudes is part of growing up. You got if you don't get picked on, you're not going to develop any resilience.
That's the thing. We can't be honest, and we become robots. Everyone becomes a fucking robot because it's so politically incorrect to say the truth that you can't say it, and it's just like, well, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's why not many people in the media, I don't reckon footballers these days are actually that great at public speakers because it's all cliched, it's all straight down the lines, and it's just straight batting everything, and it's like you can speak well, but boring.
Yeah. How do you think that game was? Yeah, look, the boys played really well, and we really hit the 1%ers, and
credit to the boys for digging in. It's
it's a script.
It is.
I mean, we were talking about this before. I don't want to. We'll change the topic quick because I don't want to put you in a position where you have to give an opinion on it. But the Manly boys in a bit of hot water for being true to who they are. Maybe, I don't know. There might be an agenda behind it, but I think it's good to see. I mean, I don't agree with some of the things that different sports people are saying about different topics, but they're allowed to have a personal opinion. And if they disagree with something, especially religiously, fucking go nuts. We've got to get back to a position in society where we accept offending people. And mate, honestly, I think the only people doing it today, the only people safely doing it is comedians. And even them, it's not super safe. But Ricky Gervais, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, they've put some specials out lately that are like, we've got to speak the truth because no one else is allowed to do it anymore.
I watched this video the other day, and it was, I don't know how in depth I should go into this, but
all the way.
No, it won't be that. And it was this guy just went and dressed up as I can't remember what culture it was, but an old, just like back in a couple, like maybe say 20, 30 years ago, went and dressed up as like an old man, but in their culture. I can't remember. If I find the video, I'll let you know, but I can't remember what culture it was. But he went up and just dressed as it and then just started asking people, it's like, what are your thoughts on my outfit? And they're like, it's offensive, it's this and that. And then There's everyone that was walking around that was obviously not from that culture. And then he went up to it was something to do with the Mexicans. It was like he was an old Mexican with his fucking what are the
Sombrero,
sombrero
yeah.
moustache and like that fucking rug that they wear.
Yeah.
Like that. And he went and dressed up, and then everyone's like, "No, mate, you're not part of that culture. Like you're wearing a fake moustache." And into him about it. He goes, "It's offensive. You can't be doing that." And obviously in a bit more depth than I'm saying now, but. He went up to the Mexicans and was like, and they're like, "Hey, we fucking love you, kid. Like, that's epic." And he's like, you realize that people are bagging me out, calling me offensive and racist and whatnot for wearing this. And they're loving it. And he went around and asked all these Mexicans, they were like, "That's awesome. Keep doing it."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that social justice stuff, people are getting offended for other people. And then you ask the people and they're like, "Bro, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Can you stop defending me?"
Yeah. And again, I mean, I'll be butchering lines from different people's comedy specials. But it's like the feminists who are like, we don't need dudes to fight our battles for us. I mean, imagine if last night we had people coming up was talking about how they join different groups, especially on social media, so that they can defend men's mental health and whatever. And it's like, appreciate it, but we're kind of all right fighting our own battles. If there's a problem, we can sort it out ourselves. We don't need someone who's from a completely different tribe coming in and going, "Hey, I'm going to look out for you because you're weak." It's like, doesn't work. Do you need to?
No. I'm trying to find this video for you. I want to.
We need to bloody bring it up, Jamie, on the TV. That doesn't work.
I'll be excited to do it. That'll be good to go.
Bring it up. We can try.
But I mean,
I've got two bloody laptops in front of me. I could always do it. No, then no one else can see it. Anyway,
because going on from here, game tomorrow, recovery. How long does it take? Do you come out of those things feeling banged up, or
games?
Yeah,
early in the season you do. It depends. Obviously, a big knock, you can't really condition yourself for it. But
have you ever had a big HIA, like a big knock where you're like, I don't know what day it is?
Head knock?
Yeah.
I've been pretty lucky. I've been pulled from one game from having a head knock, but I played the next week and it was fine. That was before these regulations came in to have a week off. But no, I've been, touch wood, pretty lucky. Haven't had too many head knocks and too many head knocks that I'll talk about anyway that I've declared. Had a couple of this start of this season. I was like, but we got on with it and it's fine. But it's definitely, I've been pretty lucky. But a few of the boys there's been some pretty big ones in the AFL because especially if you're facing the ball and you know you got players behind you and they kick it over your head, you're running, watching the ball going back like this. You obviously don't know what's coming from this angle, and it's just people have just been cleaned up, and it's fully legal. They can come through and put a knee in your head as long as they touch the ball. It's play on. So there's been some big knocks, some big knockouts, and but there was one. There's actually, if we could look, can you look it up on there?
Yeah.
So
I can pretend to try and get the TV working.
Type in Jordan Lewis knockout.
How am I going to show you?
We'll just put it up. We'll clip it in.
Screens.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you can clip it in.
Oh, mate, I hate this shit. I hate watching people dying on footy fields. Oh, geez.
Stuff like that.
Oh, and
who come up with cross lotto numbers?
He was full out of it. But he's one of the Hawthorn greats, like epic player. Went back on 10 minutes later.
Oh, how old's that then? That would have been years ago.
That would have been maybe 10 years ago.
Because that dude should not be coming back for 2 to 3 weeks.
Nah.
He was like, that was. We'll try and cut it in, but let's assume we know what we're doing. It looked like a kangaroo that had been hit by a truck.
Yeah.
Like as soon as he got hit in the head,
there's been multiple ones like that. There was one not long ago, actually, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, very similar to that. I can't remember who. I think it was a Doggies player. But there's been some big knocks and
he's come up with cross lotto numbers. He knows next week's lotto numbers. He should have bought a lotto ticket. That's how unconscious he was.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Instantly. I don't know. I can't watch, like, you know, when people, Jones is the worst. 5-6 times a day he'll send me videos of normally stupid shit. I mean, it started off with a year, it's whatever's trending. For about a year ago, I got 6 to 7 videos a day of someone telling a story and there was just a big black cock at the end of it. You just catch it. Or you'd be like, it'd be halfway through the day when he knows you're at work and as soon as you hit play on what looks like a normal sports video, it's just real loud moaning, porn in the background. Mostly trannies for Jonesy loves sending out porn with it just looks like two chicks, and then 5 seconds later you realise there's dicks everywhere. But more recently, since the Russia and Ukraine stuff, he's started, I guess, exposure therapying himself into watching more violent videos, and he sends me stuff. And the worst ones are sports injuries for me. When he sends me ones when people get, and I think it's because I had a bunch of injuries when I was younger. And I'm like, I don't want to look at it. I hate it.
No,
some people love it, but
Kane's it's a civi mate of mine. He sends me. I don't. He just had this. He got into like what's the videos with like Kill TV and stuff.
Yeah.
He used to send me that shit, and I was like, bro, I don't want to watch that shit anymore, man. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah. Some people enjoy it. I don't, especially stuff like that. I'm like, yeah.
So the worst ones are weightlifters.
Oh,
there you go. I watched one. There was one. Do you want to watch it?
No, I can't, mate. They're the very worst when knees go back to front.
No. Oh, yeah, with the leg
biceps
press.
tear off.
No. This guy was doing a full. So he was just doing a back squat. Legs spread probably wide, or they were obviously too wide, and he's doing a couple hundred kilo, like big boy. And he went down as he went down to about 90 degrees, and they had people like they had like two people at either side ready to catch it, and he went down and it snapped here. It wasn't his knee, wasn't his hip, wasn't anything else. It snapped here and just went boom and hit the ground. You can hear it, and it just flattened. And I was like cringing.
No, I can't do it.
Yeah, it's
I don't
disgusting.
Want it. Man, I got to the point that because that was trending, like videos like that a few years ago. I got to the point now where if I even mates, if I see them post videos of trying to do a squat PR, I'm getting straight through that. I don't want to watch it. Especially Kane and the powerlifting boys. They're always putting up posts of like giant weights, like weights humans aren't supposed to lift.
Yeah.
I'm like, just in case, the 1% chance that someone's knee goes backwards, I'm like, get through that real quick. I don't want to know about it.
Yeah, one of our ambassadors, Kate, he's a big powerlifting bloke, Shepherd, tore his bicep off it. So he's got doing deadlifts, and you're supposed to keep your arms. Like, rule number one of deadlifting is probably about 20, I suppose. But yeah, he bent his bicep, had it under tension, and did it was 300 kilo deadlift, 300 something, and it just went bang, whole thing just straight up.
Yeah, it just rolls up.
Yep.
It's disgusting. They're a big injury too. I think them and the pec
Yep.
are like a long,
Yeah.
heavy road to recovery. Yeah.
I was about to make up a time then. I was about to, pec's like 2 years. Yeah. And then I was like, you have no idea, bro. Just keep it quiet.
I reckon a pec's like, it's a good, it could be like a 9-monther. Like it's a pretty big recovery.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to do one.
So what's your just to keep it so you've got a big game tomorrow. Any predictions for going to be a win? By how much? What's going on?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to give us some hot numbers so we can?
Are you allowed? You're not allowed. Are you allowed to do tips? You probably can't. Can
I
you?
can I can say tips. I'm not allowed to bet or anything or tell you guys insider information or whatnot, but I'm allowed to say, I reckon we'll win by a certain amount.
Yeah.
And if that's fucking,
which is,
I think the problem would be if you say we're going to lose by about 9 points, then you'd be like, oh, I don't know, all right, and then you start missing goals in the fourth quarter.
1 goal 5.
But if you say you're going to win, that can't be a problem because there's another team there that might say, no, I don't agree with that.
What was that American doco? There was a basketball documentary with a couple of basketball players.
I haven't heard Durr in a decade.
I just go get a Motorola, put it on my head. And they fixed games. There was 3 of them. There was like,
but you can't fix it to win unless the other team's fixing it too.
No, they fixed it to win by X amount.
So they knew they were going to win. Like they were going to smack the team.
Knew they were going to win.
They were going to win by a certain amount,
and they were only going to win by a certain amount.
Yeah, right.
Have you seen the Indians that got done?
Nah.
Indian cricket players. Fucking hilarious. That one's worth.
I'm going to bring that one up.
That one's gold. And
they
got
no
done.
One gets hit in the head with a cricket ball.
No. They were.
What am I looking for?
Just say fixed Indian cricket league, something like that.
Google's on it. As soon as you type in Indian cricket, second search, fixed matches.
Yeah, right. It's hilarious. You got to watch some of the shots and the bowls being played, and it was as dodgy as it's hilarious to watch. But they got done bad
recently
because you could bet on it. It's like I think it was semi-professional. It wasn't even like.
I can understand this. He said it's talking about match fixing.
फिक्सिंग नहीं की.
Nah, it's a doco.
श्री साहब फिक्सिंग की तो उनको first
Anyway, you could bet
There's
on it.
about 50 different players in here getting done for it, though. And they were the first. Indians were the first to have a whinge about the Australians rubbing the balls with
Yeah.
sandpaper. Like, come on, son.
But that, I think that's the latest one to get done, and it was so embarrassingly like obvious.
Obvious.
Yeah, and they got smacked pretty hard, I think.
Yeah, so you're allowed to give. So you reckon you'll get up? Big win?
I think we'll get up. The Giants have said that they're this is their grand final, so they're no chance of making finals. But this is their grand final, is what they're saying. So they've put everything into this game against us.
And then what next week if they lose tomorrow? Then next week they'll be like, "Oh, this is our grand." final."
No, they've just they rested a couple of players, and not sure whether it was rested to make sure
last week.
Yeah,
right.
but it was. I'm sure it'd just be managed because they would have been sore or whatnot. But one of the players come out and goes, "This is our grand final."
So you're playing Western Sydney,
Yep.
and that's that's I remember, because I was going to try and go to it, but then I remembered I got kids and I got to go home.
I forgot I had kids.
We're going to try and go to 14th. What is it? Collingwood.
Collingwood, in 2 weeks.
We're going to do on the 14th. We're going to try and put a team into the city to surf. And
the same day.
Yeah, in the morning we'll get a couple of lads do the city to surf and then come to the footy in the Arvo.
Perfect.
We'll go to the rowdy normal seats for that one. We can't be going to the family box and being good boys, especially not against Collingwood. But is GWS is that turned into like a local derby where you're supposed to hate each other just because?
I think so, but it's always turned. It's I guess early days they started. Obviously weren't great, as most teams coming into the competition aren't. But whenever they played us, they always worked themselves up, and it was always a pretty close game. The last few years they've had the wood on us. We've played them in 3 finals now, and they've knocked us out in every final. Yeah, the last few years. So I think it's 3. It's either 2 or 3, and they've beaten us in all of them. So the rivalry's definitely built. And even though they're not making finals, it's a big push. We need to perform well the next 4 weeks to make sure we can push for top 4. We obviously top 4, you get your second chance and whatnot. We're sitting 6th at the moment, but we're only a game out of top 4, and it's a big game. And they always work themselves up for it. Like I said, they're ready to go. This is their grand final, and they've brought some really good players back in. They're a good side. They probably just haven't gelled as well as they would have liked, but they got some outstanding talent. But we're performing pretty well at the moment. We've had 3 really good weeks on the trot. Obviously, last week we had a good win against Adelaide. The week before that, went over to Fremantle, who were top of the table at the time.
Were you over in Perth?
Yeah.
I live in
That's
Perth.
what I should. Because Max lives in Perth, so, and I'm going to go over there. I don't know when yet. Haven't worked out dates. Maybe we should. Have you got any games in Perth?
Not anymore. Not unless we play them in the finals.
There goes that. But either way, it might be worth. I'll come over a weekend when there's some AFL on. The boys in Perth still kick around with Ben Cousins, don't they?
I don't think so anymore. They're all
when he cleaned up. I thought that some of the Army boys were hanging out with him.
Yeah. He got in trouble. Ben Cousins got in trouble sneaking on the swan ball and jumping the fence, and they're like,
Army base.
Yeah.
Oh, did he? Oh, in the Army bullshit.
When he was cooked, when he was proper. I think post
recently.
No,
years ago.
So he's mates with a few of the boys, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same culture. It's the same. I guess it's the same reason. I mean, I can't consider myself high performing fit like I was in the Army, but same reason with Swebsy. Like you do get along better with people who understand what high performing lifestyle is all about. It's hard to connect with slobbish people. And I think there is an attraction. Professional footy players and high performing soldiers. It's always you get along well. But yeah, there was stories about him sneaking on base. Who knows what? Being a scallywag with the boys, probably.
He's had some good stories. That'd be worth a good yarn. And I reckon he'd open up because majority of it's in the public anyway. But
yeah,
that'd be a good yarn.
We get him on. Yeah, we'll come to Perth and do a podcast.
If you got him on, that'd be epic.
Yeah, we'll reach out and get him on.
Have you heard of the one where he tried to swim the Swan River? Is it the Swan River over there?
Yeah, down south. Yeah,
you've heard of that one? When
no.
He was. I don't know if he was on the gear, but he was definitely drunk. And he was driving his car and the cops were chasing him and he pulled up the Swan River. Like, as he flew on it, pulled up, jumped out. And then, how wide would it be?
It's wide.
It'd be like a kilometre?
Yeah, at points. It'd be, a couple 100 metres across at
bigger
points.
Bigger than Sydney Harbour?
Nah.
No, it's more than a couple 100 metres.
Oh,
no.
I love it out because we couldn't get the TV working. We've got to get the guest to Google it on his phone.
Yeah, it'd have to be, and freezing.
Was it?
cold.
Oh, it would be too.
Yeah.
Is this in winter? Probably. There's nothing. When the cops are chasing you, it'd have to be almost covered in ice to stop you from going in there.
Well, when you're
full of meth.
running the old bloody glass barbie.
He was, yeah. But I mean, there's people like that, especially if they've come through it and they've come good. Like that is the people we want to talk to. They've got some stories to tell. That's like Az, I always forget his last name. Local
Moore.
Az Murray. Yeah, Az Moore.
Aaron Moore, yeah.
I had a chat to him yesterday, and he's going to come on because he just got back from. He does a lot of stuff with Indigenous communities, and he went to Canada. Movember paid for a group of blokes to go over to Canada. I don't know the full story, and I'll let him tell it properly. But I was like, bro, you want to come on a podcast? We're getting a studio set up. And he's like, fucking oath. He's like, are you okay with me telling all of my addiction stories? And I'm like, go, mate. Open mic, do whatever. Tell it. And he's like, I got it, some good buds. I'm like, fucking here we go.
That's the greatest. Like he can actually talk with no
Tell
ramifications.
the truth.
And it's like, yeah.
And it's not like he's condoning. It's not like, I mean, his profession now is drug and alcohol addiction, like rehabilitation counselling.
Yeah.
He's not telling these stories because he's like, hey, I had a really sick adolescence. You should follow mine. He's telling people his stories so that you can avoid doing that yourself.
I'm the end of last year, but obviously COVID sort of stuffed things up. But I was going to do a trip with him to Yunamu, which is like, so you got Alice Springs, and 3 hours northwest of Alice Springs it's a little Indigenous community called Yunamu. And we were going to do, and I was going to go run some, because there's mad AFL up there. I was going to run some footy clinics, and he was going to do drug and alcohol awareness, and we had like swimming lessons, and had this whole week with him and one of his good mates, Casey. And now we're going to, so that we couldn't do that last year, but now we're going to do Elka Island, which is up, so to the right of, it's off Arnhem Land, to the right of Darwin.
Yeah, right.
We've had 2-hour plane trip, and that'll be epic. So we'll go up there and we'll do the same sort of thing. And he's just a legend. Like Aaron Moore's just one of the nicest blokes.
Absolutely.
Just gets life. He just gets it.
And he, that lived experience piece, massive, mate.
It'll be huge. I can't wait to hear his stories.
Mate, I can't. Thanks for.
Sorry. It sounds like you're wrapping up. I've got one more question. We need to find a way to go. All right, I've got no more questions there. And this,
I've got no more questions.
so we've done breath work and we've done sleep. We've done a bit of fitness. You don't really need to talk about training's training. I want to talk about food for a minute because I have a big problem with most professional athletes' diet, and I get you can't eat strict keto because apparently they've tried it and it didn't work. What is your normal diet Monday to Friday? What are you kind of eating in a day?
Well, where do you want me to start? Training day or just normal day?
Go training day, and then we'll do just both.
So, normal day. I like just getting a good mix of meat and veg. I eat meat and veg a lot, and then of a morning it's just a bit of bloody toast and Vegemite or peanut butter or something like that.
Right. If you're going for a piss, we've got a minute to go. You can't be going for a piss.
Get out of there. Get in there.
Or he's going to fart.
Or he's pissed
We can
himself.
cut this out anyway. I'll ask the question again.
Piss himself.
Are you going to piss? Or is that why you're trying to wrap it up? He's actually pissing down his piss? I hope so. He's wearing pink shorts. Go down the fire escape and into the downstairs toilet. We are not cutting this out.
We're not.
We might as well keep
He
saying.
walks out like an old man.
He did. I reckon it was because he was like, oh, let's wrap it. I'm going to wrap it.
Do you ever? Oh yeah.
Right,
Okay,
we're back on.
Okay, we're back on.
So, was there something you wanted? I know the question I'm going to ask, but was there something you want to talk about your toilet experience?
None of that's been cut, by the way.
No. Yeah, we told stories about you while you're gone.
No, keep it all in.
I was asking. I was just read through your notes, mate, and I was like, "There's good notes here.
They're my
stuff
show
that we've
notes.
got to bring up. There's a triangle.
Can you talk us through them?
Yeah.
So that's a panic. So obviously I didn't do it. So part of the lead up is you got to do. I'm a nervous weeer. Do a wee before a podcast. I think I always wee before a podcast.
you
always
do.
wee before a section tag, whatever. Nervous weeer.
Did you say a sex tape?
A
Also
section
sex
attack.
tape.
So you're training the army. So you're about to go into a contact. Not where you go for a wee, I don't know.
Not
If
in
you're
contact.
advancing the contact, we'll just do a quick wee. All right.
Yeah, I got to drain the bladder. Do a nervous wee, and I didn't. Got a carrot drink and straight into this.
Oh yeah, you've had a bit of fluid.
True.
Yeah, mate. I was like,
Wrap this shit up.
don't get up during the middle of the Isaac Heeney podcast.
You got it. For the last 50 minutes, you've been like leading towards this is Mex is wrapping up. Why are you wrapping up so early? Now I know.
I need to piss.
You're
Oh, this is the
allowed to
best.
go to the toilet, mate.
But going back to my show notes that I never put up in the podcast afterwards, and I always tell people I will. Nervous,
Square, that's the square.
dwelling, that triangle, double triangle. Yeah, there's not a whole lot
What
there.
does the one on the right say? It looks like it says
Genetic memory. So when you were talking about your mum and dad both being athletic, do you think that might have been some? Because they talk about, well, not so much genetic memory, but genetics playing a part. Do you think it played a part? Were they above and beyond fit?
Yeah, they were pretty good athletes. Yeah, they were like from all reports, really good athletes. Definitely played a part. But I think I look at my brother, the prime example of like the comparison between myself and my brother. Footy wise, skills that shits on mine. Like still, he could go there and kick a footy straighter than I can, and he wouldn't have kicked a footy in 5 years. He goes speed wise, probably still quicker than me. Like I reckon up until like maybe the last year or two, he was quicker than me. Now that he's put probably 10 kg on, and
so why is what your brother's a tradie, right? Or a builder?
he's a trader, yeah, and he was in the Swans Academy. More talented than me than in majority of things. Always stronger than me. Always like more powerful, quicker, better skills, and whatnot. But I'd be there, and I just love footy. I love pushing myself to the limit physically. So I'd be out there, and we lived on a bit of property, and just around the outside of one of the paddocks, I just sort of mapped out a 3 kilometre time trial, because that's the time trials generally with AFL's 3 kilometres. These days it's 2K, but back then it was 3K, and I'd get home and I'd train 2-3 times a week at club, and then occasionally with the academy. But whenever I wasn't training with them, I'd come home and just do a 3K time trial. I'd go and warm up, and that was my extras sort of thing. My brother'd be there, and he's like, he helped me map it out, but never ran it. And he'd be there, and he's like, I'll have a kick with you when you're back. And I'd be there, I'd be gassed on the way back. I'm like, let's kick, let's go, let's keep doing it. And he just didn't quite have the drive.
Yeah.
And then when the shit got cranking later in life, when he was sort of 16, 17, 18, when things started to get a bit more serious, he just he pulled back a bit and was like, not sure if that's for me, not sure. 18th year, sorry, when he was 18, when it's like your draft year, just within 2 weeks went fucking done with life, done with footy, don't want anything to do with it, went with one of his good mates and shot off to Perth in the mines. So did a year in the mines, and that was him done with footy, and then came back, and a couple of clubs in Sydney that kind of wanted to see him play and see if they could, see what he could do, whether the Swans could pick him up again or whatnot. And he's like, no, couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, mate, and that's your work ethic is fucking high level. Like, and that's one thing that Ryan brings up a bit. It's like there's a difference. You can tell. Like, I'm not going to name any of them. There's a couple of your mates that we've met, and skilled people, absolutely skilled athletes, but work ethic's just not there. And unfortunately, in 2022, you can't be one. 20 years ago, you can be skilled and smoke durries on the sideline. Not anymore. You've got to be fit too. And I mean, I'm not going to pretend I was ever going to be a professional sports person, but we went to, when I first joined the army, we went to France and Germany to play. I was playing for the army team. We went and play all the French and the English army teams. And they brought this old bloke, I can't remember his name, he's going to kill me, from the Queensland Reds with us. And he came up at the end of the tour, he came up and he's like, mate, you're still young enough. Do you want to, because he was talking to the army rugby, he goes, do you want to get posted to Brisbane and come and start playing in the Reds development team with us? And I was like, honestly, mate, I fucking love footy. I hate training. Like I want to do, I am in this team for the social aspect, and I love going out there and playing footy, scoring tries and smacking people. An hour before training, every time I think about a good excuse as to why I can't train. I fucking hate it. And I love going to the gym and doing fitness training. I just hated rugby training. I'm like, professional sport was not for me. It's you've got to be happy doing it, just being good at it. It's those days are gone of just turning out to play and hating training. Can't do it anymore. You've got to be committed to being a fucking heavy discipline trainer.
I agree. I still get days where I rock up at the club. I don't want to be here. Like I'm like, occasionally, it doesn't happen that often because it's obviously a very much a mindset thing. Get up in the morning, get going, make the most of the day. But I get days where I'm like, this is just a day I need to get through today and go home. And I'm like, I'll go home and fucking switch off from footy, and then tomorrow I'll reset and go again.
Yeah.
Like I have days like that. Not that often, but I do have them. And like for me, I'm just like, all right, it doesn't happen. It's not going to happen that often. It's just anomaly. Like I just push that to the side and get on with it later in the
I think
track.
that's super important for people to hear too, as well. Hey, like you think these like you're a human being as well. At the end of the day, a super high performing athlete. People look and be like, he couldn't have a bad day, and you're like, yeah, dude, you have bad
yeah.
days, man. Like,
So yeah, you just don't want to. You're just like, fuck. Like I'm just not in the mood. I'm tired. I'm fatigued. I'm like, just don't want to be training hard. And when you go out there, but once I get out there, it's always the start. Once you start, like I've got a mindset where like if I'm start to do something, I'm going to do it 100%, no matter how shit I'm feeling or if I don't want to be doing it or whatnot. I'm like, just start off. Once I start, I'm good. Just keep going. But it's that lead up to it, and I'm just like, I can't be fucked. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I do have it, but not often.
Righto, back to the final question before Max had to go for the wee. Nutrition. So diet for professional athletes is something. If we don't cut it, well, you'll hear me say this twice, but whatever. It's been a bugbear of mine. Like when I left the military, dietetics was a big part of my 10 years out, and understanding what high performing diets was always confused me because I love like longevity diets like keto and low carb diets because it does keep you healthier for longer. All athletes that I see are just dumpsters for whatever food is out there. As long as it's delicious, they're just smashing it. CrossFitters are the worst. Like they will eat pizzas and fucking bags of chips and lollies and that while competing. And I get it, you need carbs, but what is your normal diet?
I feel like because AFL is such an aerobic sport, it's fitness over anything really. Diet it does play a massive part, and some like you know when you're eating right and when you're not, and it takes time. Obviously, as a young kid, you guys probably back me up with this. Like you just ate for the sake of eating. You're like, oh yeah, I'll fucking smash carbs for a game, but other than that, I don't know what I want to eat. I don't care what I want to eat. Does that make any sense? I think I was just waffling then.
No, that's good.
Anyway, so I've learned that like before games and main sessions, I do like a carb load, knowing that I can spoil myself with the garlic bread and whatnot with a pasta and some salad. But I make sure I always get my greens in. I love greens. I could eat greens. I could become a vegetarian. Generally could.
I'll tell you right now, you shouldn't. You definitely shouldn't.
Ryan will be there going, those chicken wings at River Bay. Just saying that I love my veggies a lot and salads and whatnot. But I feel like I eat pretty well, and a lot of it, like boys will go out, and even the young fellas these days, they're not necessarily eating as much pizzas and burgers as what go back when I was like 8 years ago when I first got to the club. We'd be there, and there's Bondi Pizza at East Gardens used to be there, and it was I think it was $25 all you can eat pizza, and that was every Tuesday night or Monday or Tuesday night or something. So we'd all go there and just be boys would eat 3 pizzas, and it was like that was it. And we weren't even training the next day. It was just because it was a cheap day to eat, and so boys would go nuts. But these days it doesn't really happen like that. We'll go out, and if we go into a pub, boys will even change their chips to salad now and have a steak and chips. Occasionally boys will get the snitty if they're feeling like they've had a big day or whatnot. But the diet, it does play a big thing and big part in what you do. And that's the biggest thing for me is what I've changed is my diet and my sleep. And occasionally I go to the pub and smash a heap of chicken wings.
Yeah, you got to.
But it plays up my stomach. I look at it now, like it's not even worth it. Like my stomach just gets irritated so badly these days that I'm like, may as well eat healthy. I feel better. Yeah, it's good at the time because you love it, but I'm like, it's not a massive.
They did do. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they did trial keto type high fat low carb diets with footy. I know they did it with cricket. Cricketers loved it. The Aussie cricket team allegedly, according to the doco, said it was amazing for them. But they're doing a whole bunch of nothing for a lot of the time, like standing around fielding. I get that explosive like kind of sports requires a lot of explosive energy systems. Keto may not be the optimal kind of diet, but I don't know. I just thought that the AFL with so much running around, like lower carb would probably be better. But what were the results? Do you know when they did test it with the team?
It wasn't with us. It was with Melbourne Demons.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's a funny one. I think they trialled it maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They won the grand final last year, not doing it. So it's like
not doing it.
No. So they tried that and had a pretty bad year. And then I don't think, but from all reports, they didn't try it for long enough that it became something or their bodies adjusted to it. Whereas if they tried it for another year, they reckon it would have had massive benefits. But it's that whether it's like a 2-year period to do it, you sacrifice that. But they went back to I think the old way of carbohydrates and high sugars and whatnot before games. Whereas, I don't know, whatever they did last year, which I'm pretty sure wasn't keto.
Steroids.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. You can eat whatever you want if you're on the juice. Nah, it's good to know. Because like I said, I see professional, high-performing athletes eating shit, still killing it. And I mean, I know you need sugars or glucose, and then you go, we're training so much.
I feel like
doesn't have an impact.
Have you spoken to many AFL players though about their diet?
No, I've only seen you and the boys, and I'm like, yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag.
Some of the boys
go have a dinner with Belly, and it's like, whatever you got, I'll have
that
7
bloke can eat
pizzas.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
He can eat, and he used an excuse. Oh no, we're training tomorrow. I'm just going to eat and it was funny. So he stayed with me for a couple of months. When was it? Not last year, but the year before. Just like before the Chrissy period. So we had like a pre-season block, and we'd go there and before a main session of pre-season where we'd probably do like 12, 13K, he'd get a garlic bread, a family size supreme pizza, a pasta, and finish it off with a garlic bread, and occasionally would go a garlic pizza too, like a thin garlic pizza. And he goes, oh, I've got the salad. That's just him. And I was like, bro, okay, so I'm not ordering anything then. We'll share that. And he's like, no, man, that's me. Like, I couldn't believe it. That bloke can eat.
That's brilliant.
He's an Indigenous fella, right? So the Indigenous boys, the blokes that I've known that are good at sport, they're the dumpsters that are just shovel fucking shit in, and doesn't affect them at all.
Yeah,
they're always lean and fit and
he's
go forever. But as soon as they retire and they stop doing all that exercise, they're the first ones to get fat.
Yeah.
You see, mate. I forget his name, and one of the Knights players, Owen Craigie. I think it was an Indigenous fella. Fit and fast and everything. As soon as you stop playing, diet doesn't change, fitness disappears, fat.
Well, you look at Belly's GPS on game day will shit on anyone else's.
Yeah.
He's like, he's high. So we look at high speed running. So we've got all this data that pumps out from our GPS, and we've got like your distance covered, your high speed running, your sprint distance, and your max velocity is really, they're the 4 that we look at. And his high speed and sprint are like double anyone else's. So he'll cover like 3.5 kilometers of high speed, whereas most of the boys are hitting maybe just under 2 sort of thing. Yeah. And then sprint distance, he'll hit 600 meters. Boys are hitting 200 sort of thing. So
it's doping. Yeah. Honestly, if you're Indigenous, it's fast twitch muscle fibers and that they are everyone. You put a ball in their hand and they're natural athletes.
Absolutely,
it's bullshit.
Feels unfair, doesn't it?
We've got to keep an eye on Buddy then. Buddy's when's he? How many years he got in him?
No, he's got this year. So there's
That's
contract talk at the moment for him. So,
is he going to stick around?
Yeah, well, at the end of the year, it's up to him and his manager, and obviously I won't.
Buddy,
say too much
he's definitely listening to this. So when you stop playing, mate, you got to switch that diet up a bit.
No, he's slimmed down actually. Has
he?
Yeah, he's good. He's looking fit and feeling fit, and his body's good. So touch wood, he stays like that. But
yeah, nice.
He's a bloody good player.
Yeah, fucking isn't he? All right, mate. Yeah, you can wrap it up. I've got no more questions.
Anything? No, mate. Like I said, thanks for coming on. It's been a blast. It's easy going, guy. I can't believe with media training, not standing on your own dick during the podcast and answering my retarded questions. Appreciate you coming on, mate. And yeah.
I love how you still look.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Have I talked about triangles yet? Yes. Have I talked about straight line? Yes. Okay, now we can go.
Yeah, you talk about that octagon that fell off the wall.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That's what I was pointing out before. I'm like, I saw it fall off, but it might not be in the camera.
No, don't tell anyone. Don't tell. No, so we painted this 5 hours ago.
Oh, it is on the camera.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That'll be a little Easter egg for everyone. We painted it and we're like, as long as it dries so that we can put these self-sticking squares on the wall, hexagons on the wall. Anyway, let's wrap it up before any more fall off.
Yeah, this studio's going to fall apart. That curtain's going to come down. So if there's any tradies out there coming, we're a charity.
Oh, you've done very well.
Awesome.
It's a great place.
Right. Cheers, lads. Thanks very much.
Ta.